Flooded Out. Text by Julie Ellis. Illustrations by Gary Undercuffler. Vicky is looking forward to having a birthday party with her friends. But when disaster strikes and heavy rain floods the family farm, Vicky finds an unusual way to celebrate her birthday. Listen to the story. Flooded Out. Text by Julie Ellis. Illustrations by Gary Undercuffler. Chapter 1. Sunday, 18th June. Vicky was pleased with what she'd done. She had been working on her party invitations for ages, but now they were finished and they looked good. She was inviting 6 friends to a mystery party the following Sunday. She could have a party because turning 10 was extra special. Vicky's friends already knew that they were coming to her party, but Vicky liked doing artwork and she had enjoyed making the invitations. She set the invitations up on her table so that she would remember to take them to school in the morning. It had started raining while she was working, so she got up and closed her window. She turned off her CD player, put her pyjamas on, and curled up in bed with her latest book, an exciting horse adventure. The sound of the rain on the roof was rhythmic and soothing. Vicky felt warm and sleepy. She dropped her book and drifted off to sleep. Bang! Clang! 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 Vicky woke in the dark, heart pounding. The sound of the screen door slamming had woken her. A torch beam flickered outside her window. Vicky rolled over and looked at her clock. 1:15 a.m. She got up and stumbled into her parents' room. "What's happening?" she asked sleepily. "It's all right, Vicky," said her mother. "Your dad's just checking the animals. It's raining heavily and he's worried that the lower paddock might flood. Now back to bed and I'll see you in the morning." Chapter 2. Wake up, Vicky. Wake up. "No," groaned Vicky sleepily from the comfort of her warm bed. "What's the time?" "It's 3 o'clock," said her mother. "Wake up. I need your help. There's flooding near the house. You and Sam go and bring the rabbits inside. Dad's moving the chickens, and I need to get some emergency things ready in case the power goes out. Put the rabbits in a cardboard box in the laundry." Vicky and Sam stumbled out of the warm house. Driving rain hit Vicky in her face. Suddenly, she was wide awake. The lawn had turned into a giant puddle. While Sam held the torch, Vicky lifted the pet rabbits Pinky and Brownie out of their cage and into a cardboard box. Then they squelched back to the house. Mum handed them a towel each as they entered the kitchen. "I've never seen that much water on the lawn," said Vicky. "Is the water going to come into the house?" asked Sam. "No," laughed Mum. "This old house has been here for 90 years and never flooded. At worst, the road might flood and you'll get a day or 2 off school." "Look," said Sam a moment later. "Isn't that water coming in under the door now?" "Oh no, I can't believe it," said Mum. "We'd better stack things up so they don't get wet." For the next few hours, Sam and Vicky helped their mother stack books, electrical appliances, and photo albums on the table and bench tops. They worked fast, but all the time they were working, more water was seeping in under the door. The water level inside the house had risen to about 10 centimetres by the time their father returned. "I'm worried," he said. "I've never seen this much water." I'll phone the Browns and see if they're flooded too. Chapter 3. This is bad, Dad said as he put down the phone. Derek Brown said they're evacuating because they're flooded up to their knees. West End River has broken its banks and it's coming our way. We have to leave immediately. Kids, get your sleeping bags and a change of clothes and get in the truck. We'll go to your Gran and Grandad's unit. I'll phone them and tell them we're coming. As she got her things, Vicky could hear her father's one-sided conversation. It didn't sound good. There's water in your unit? We're evacuating. You'd better leave too. Don't wait till morning. We'll meet you at the Gumtree Lookout. That's high ground. See you there in about an hour. He hung up the phone. Let's go. The rabbits! Cried Vicky. Mum, can you carry my stuff while I get the rabbits? They splashed out to the truck, arms full with rabbits, sleeping bags, spare clothes and food. Their lawn was not a puddle anymore. It was a river. The water was nearly at the top of Vicky's gumboots. Dad stopped by the kennels and quickly loaded the dogs. As they headed down the drive, Vicky suddenly remembered something. Mum, we forgot Ambush. Don't worry. She's a tough old farm cat, said Mum. She'll be somewhere safe and dry. The drive into town was terrifying. It was dark and raining heavily. In the headlights, Vicky could see that the paddocks were flooded. Water completely covered the road. At the West End Bridge, a police officer stopped them. Dad explained that they were going to Gumtree Lookout. Sorry, said the police officer. The road's closed in that direction due to fallen trees. You need to go straight to Fielding High School. That's the emergency shelter because it's on high ground. What about Gran and Grandad? Asked Sam. They'll be fine. We'll probably find them safe and well at the school, said Mum. I hope so, muttered Vicky's dad grimly. At the school, everyone was parking on the oval, leaving the dogs tied up and the rabbits in the truck. Vicky's family followed the crowd hurrying through heavy rain into the school hall. Vicky scanned the faces, looking for her grandparents. She couldn't see them. A woman wearing a Red Cross badge showed them to a classroom with mattresses on the floor where they could spread out their sleeping bags. Vicky felt cold and shivery. She got into her sleeping bag, still wearing her clothes. Beside her, Sam did the same. Think of this as an adventure, said Mum cheerfully, and try to get some sleep. Vicky couldn't sleep. With all the noise and the bright lights, she lay there wondering what was happening at home. Was the water flooding into her bedroom? Was Ambush safe? Chapter 4. Monday, 19th June. Vicky woke to the noise of heavy rain on the roof and people talking loudly. What's happening? She asked her mum. Well, the good news is that Gran and Grandad have turned up. Mum nodded towards Gran, who smiled at Vicky. The bad news is it's still raining and the tide won't turn until 4 o'clock, Mum continued. Vicky sat up and hugged her grandmother. I'm glad you're safe, Gran. Mum, why does it matter when the tide turns? The rivers are getting very full, said her mother. But because the tide is still coming in, the water can't escape out to sea. If the river overflows, the bridges and roads might get washed out and the town will flood. There'll be water through the main business area as well. The Red Cross is asking people to help with sandbagging the riverbanks, said Gran. Dad and Grandad are volunteering our help. Vicky and her family spent the whole day filling and carrying sandbags. It was hard, heavy, boring work. Let's hope all our hard work is worth it, said Grandad, as they slowly walked back to the school in the evening. Chapter 5. Tuesday, 20th June. The next morning, as Vicky joined the breakfast line in the hall, she heard the bad news. The sandbagging they had spent all yesterday working on hadn't worked. Riverbanks had burst, farms were flooded, and cars were submerged. A state of disaster was declared. All morning, evacuees kept arriving with frightening stories about the catastrophe. Whole houses had fallen into the river. Livestock had been washed downstream, and there were landslides on the hill farms. However, there was one story that made Vicky smile. A farmer was trying to rescue cattle in the middle of the night. Suddenly, the paddock flooded and the farmer and her cows were swept along in the water. The farmer was getting pulled under, so she grabbed hold of one of the cows. The cow kept swimming and managed to carry the farmer safely to drier ground. Instead of being rescued, the cow did the rescuing. The cow was a local celebrity. But Vicky was feeling grouchy. She was worried about their farm, annoyed by the noise and lack of privacy at the school, and bored because she didn't have a book to read. She wandered outside to find some grass for the rabbits, who were still in the truck. As she walked across the lawn, she heard someone call her name. "Vicky! Wait for me!" It was her best friend, Jess. "We're flooded out," said Jess excitedly. "It happened last night. We thought we'd be okay because we're half a kilometre away from the river, but the water just flooded right across the paddocks." Vicky was pleased to see Jess, and the girls spent the rest of the day talking and playing board games. "Don't suppose you'll be having your birthday party then?" asked Jess. When Jess said this, Vicky suddenly felt upset. With all the drama, she'd forgotten about her birthday. "I suppose so," she said sadly. Chapter 6. Wednesday, 21st June. "Can we go home today?" Vicky asked her father the next morning. It had stopped raining at last, and a pale sun was shining. "Sorry, Vicky," said her dad. "We're stuck in town a while longer because the West End Bridge has been washed away. Grandad and I are going to walk to his unit today. You and Sam can come if you like." Outside the school, there was muddy brown water everywhere. Vicky stared around in amazement. Below the school, where there used to be a bustling town, there was now a huge lake of water. Rising out of the lake were the brightly coloured roofs and walls of flooded houses. There was no sign of streets, car parks, train tracks, or sports fields. "This doesn't look good," said Grandad. The further down the road they walked, the deeper the water became. There were trees floating along flooded streets, and even an inflatable swimming pool bobbing along. A stop sign was wedged high in a tree. Vicky was shocked. She couldn't believe this much water could flow through the town. One street away from the unit, they had to stop and turn back. The water was too deep to get through on foot. They trudged back up to the high school. Sam was eager to watch the helicopters that were landing behind the school, dropping off rescued people and then flying off for more. First aid workers were checking everyone who came off the helicopters. One man, with an obviously broken leg, was loaded into an ambulance. Chapter 7. Thursday, 22nd June. By Thursday morning, the level of the floodwaters had dropped a little, and Vicky and her family were able to get to her grandparents' unit. Armed with brooms, mops, buckets, and rubbish bags supplied by the Red Cross, they walked down to the unit. There was a dirty tide mark about 20 centimetres high on the wall where the water had flowed through the unit. The carpets were soaked, and there was mud in the cupboards. The family spent the whole day cleaning up. Vicky's job was to empty the kitchen cupboards and wash all the pots, pans and dishes. When they returned to the school to sleep, they heard that the State Emergency Service had managed to erect a Bailey Bridge over West End River, so they might be able to visit their farm tomorrow. After seeing the mess at her grandparents' unit, Vicky wondered what the farm would look like. However, she was even more anxious to get back and look for Ambush. Chapter 8. Friday, 23rd June. On the drive back to the farm, they saw lots of damage. As Dad drove slowly over the Bailey Bridge, Vicky looked up the river. There was a dead cow lying on the bank, and someone's garden shed was snagged on a fence. Vicky felt sick as they approached their house. "My vegetable garden's gone," cried Mum. It wasn't the only thing gone. There was no lawn, driveway or fence. The garage had a big dent in it. The worst thing was the thick mud covering the ground. The potato field had flooded and there were potatoes lying everywhere. If it's this bad outside, thought Vicky, I wonder what it'll be like in the house. It was weird inside. If Vicky looked up high, things looked normal. The familiar photos were still on the walls. The pot plants were still hanging down from on top of the cupboards. However, when Vicky looked lower, she could see a dirty waterline showing that the flood had risen to about 1.5 meters. "It would have been over my head," said Sam, standing by the high waterline. Everything below the floodline was soaking wet and coated in mud. The carpet in the living room was hidden under sludge. The things they had carefully piled on the table and bench tops were wet. "Oh no, the computer," cried Sam. "My photos," said Mum. "I'm going to check the animals," said Dad. Vicky went into her bedroom. The lower half of her bookshelf was wet. Her precious books and some of her other things were ruined. Vicky could see her money box on the top shelf. She got it down and opened it. Her pocket money was still there. The CD player was on her homework table. It was wet and dirty. She cleaned it and it seemed okay. She thought it might work again if she got new batteries. Something was stuck on Vicky's window. She pulled it off and looked at it. It was one of her birthday party invitations she had made last Sunday. The words had smudged and it looked old and messy. Vicky sat on the windowsill and cried. She felt as if suddenly her whole life had been turned upside down. Vicky heard her dad calling her. She went out to the kitchen. Her dad had something wrapped in his arms. "Guess who I found in the hay shed?" he said, smiling. "Ambush!" cried Vicky. "Is she all right?" "Just wet, hungry and annoyed," said her dad. Vicky quickly opened a can of cat food and watched Ambush eat it hungrily. Despite finding Ambush, Vicky felt shocked by the disaster that had hit her family. They were all very quiet on the drive back into town that evening. Chapter 9. Saturday, 24th June. Early the next morning, the family headed back to the farm. They wanted to make the most of the sunny day to start cleaning inside the house. Dad got the tractor out and started to move the dead cattle. Mum washed the sludge off the floor and dragged the ruined carpet outside. Sam got the job of ripping dirty wet wallpaper off the walls. Vicky had to pick up all the potatoes from the flooded field and dump them in a big rubbish bin. "We need to get rid of them before they rot," said her dad. Rotting potatoes smell awful. At lunchtime, they stopped for sandwiches and a hot chocolate. Vicky looked at a huge pile of rubbish her mother had made. "What are you going to do with all that stuff?" she asked. "Burn it tomorrow," replied Mum. "Vicky, can we trade jobs?" asked Sam. "I'm sick of being stuck inside ripping off wallpaper." So Vicky spent the afternoon pulling off wet wallpaper. It wasn't any more fun than picking up potatoes. It would be better if she had a friend to help her, she thought. When Dad returned, he asked, "So how's the working party going?" Vicky looked up at the word party. A vague idea began forming in her mind. "Mum, you know it's my birthday tomorrow," Vicky said slowly. "Oh, Vicky, I'm sorry, but we don't have any presents and I don't have a cake. You'll have to wait until all this is over for a party." "Actually, Mum, I've got a plan," grinned Vicky. "Can you please drive me to the nearest supermarket?" With her pocket money, Vicky bought hot dogs, buns, tomato sauce, mustard, foil, chocolate, biscuits, paper plates and cups, juice and batteries for her CD player. Back at Fielding High, Vicky borrowed her mum's mobile phone and called the 6 friends who had been coming to her party. "The mystery party is still on," she said. "I don't want any presents though. You'll need to wear old clothes and bring gumboots and gloves. Meet at the high school car park at 1 o'clock tomorrow." Chapter 10. Sunday, 25th June. At 1 o'clock, everyone climbed in the school's minibus and rode out to Vicky's farm. Her friends stared at the fallen trees, flooded paddocks and mud. "I hope you don't mind," said Vicky, "but the mystery party is now a working party. There are 3 big jobs to do. If we all do a few hours hard work, then we can have a bonfire barbecue for dinner." "I've never been invited to a working party before," said Kim. "It could be fun," said Bobby. "What do you want us to do?" asked Joe. Soon they were all hard at work, stripping wet wallpaper off walls, picking up potatoes and dragging piles of rubbish out to the bonfire. Vicky turned on her CD player and the music put them in a party mood. At 5 o'clock, they stopped working and Vicky's dad lit the bonfire. While they waited for it to burn down, they stuck sausages on sticks and wrapped clean potatoes in foil. Soon their bonfire barbecue was ready. They had hot dogs with mustard and tomato sauce and baked potatoes. For dessert, they had chocolate washed down with plenty of juice. As everyone sang happy birthday to Vicky, she looked around at her friends and family. She felt tired, but she also felt happy and warm inside. Something bad had happened to her family, but they were getting back to normal, and Vicky knew that things would get better again. "It was a great idea to have a working party, Vicky," said Kim. "It was lots of fun," said Elena. "The best party ever," agreed Jess. "Can I have a working party for my next birthday, Mum?" asked Sam. Vicky laughed. It felt good to be with family and friends, safe and sound. "My 10th birthday party was special after all, and I know I'll remember it for the rest of my life," thought Vicky.
Squawk the pig!
Yo ho, it's off the plank you go. Ya ha ha!
Type the word. Type a letter to start. Clue. Something used to help stop flooding.
Well, I'll be a landlubber's lollipop. That was good. Storm a brewing. Try again. Storm a brewing. Try again. Storm a brewing. Try again. Try again. Sorry, matey. Try again. Swab the deck with the old red socks and try again. Storm a brewing. Try again.
You have already used that letter.
Well, I'll be a landlubber's lollipop. That was good. Sorry, matey. Try again. Swab the deck with me old red socks and try again.
Try that word again. Click on Try Again. Clue. Something used to help stop flooding.
Shiver me timbers, matey. Great spelling. Pickle me parrots, matey. You can spell better than I. Try again. Well, I'll be a landlubber's lollipop. That was good. Pickle me parrots, matey. You can spell better than I. Pickle me parrots, matey. You can spell better than I.
Sandbag. Excellent. You saved the pirate. Click Next to get another word. Clue. A shelter for a dog.
Sorry, matey. Try again. Storm a brewing. Try again. Shiver me timbers, matey. Great spelling. Sorry, matey. Try again. Try again. Try again. Storm a brewing. Try again. Keep your wits about yer. Sorry, matey. Try again. Swab the deck with me old red socks and try again.
That word again. Clue. A shelter for a dog.
Matey. Fantastic spelling. Swab the deck with me old red socks and try again. Keep your wits about yer. Keep your wits about yer. Try again. Well, bury me boots in a cookie jar, matey. That was good. Well, I'll be a landlubber's lollipop. That was good.
Let's play Squawk the Plank. Well done. You saved the pirate from the shark. Click Next to get another word. Clue. Asking someone to come to a party.
Well, bury me boots in a cookie jar, matey. That was good. That's in a cookie jar, matey. That was good. That was good.
Type your name and click on Next.
Story Toolbox. Type your name and click Next. Create a new story. Have fun clicking on the buttons. Then drag items onto the board to make a picture. Type or write your story underneath the picture. Click Next to make another page or click Finish to view your story. Fantastic work! Click Save to save your story, click Print to print your story, or click Start Again to make another story.